Well, then, I guess I'll just have to get into the crawl space again. I hate it when he gets in there.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust, coming to you live from the crawl space in the Hamilton Station Hotel. My name is Nagy. I'm joined once again by my weary, slightly dreary co-host, Liam McNeil. Liam, how are you feeling?
Hi, Nagy. I'm feeling a bit sooky today.
Sooky?
As you mentioned, a bit weary, a bit tender, perhaps, in parts.
Now, what was the reason for the tenderness? Who tenderised you, Liam?
I was tenderised by 34 men
Yeah.
playing on a hallowed turf of North Sydney Oval, Joust, as you guys would know.
It was our first Joust excursion.
Our first Joust excursion for the year, so we decided why not follow our beloved Knights down to take on my also beloved Bears, and we got to watch a largely one-sided and pretty bad reserve grade game in which the Knights were pumped, but rugby league was the real winner of the day.
It really was. It's such a lovely oval down there at North Sydney, even though it's down from us, but it's above the actual city of Sydney.
Well, that's it. You don't have to cross the bridge, which is the worst part about the city.
Yes.
I mean, it just looks like a coat hanger. It's not a real bridge.
If you don't have to cross the bridge, maybe we're all in Sydney.
But what a wonderful day, Nagy. There's nothing quite like a Sunday afternoon. You're sitting on the hill.
Yeah.
You're drinking beer. You're eating meat pies.
And
you're watching footy. You're with mates. It's just the best thing you can do on a Sunday.
The beers were the Bears beers.
And full strength. You can get full strength beer at a sporting
thing.
I wouldn't say stadium, perhaps.
No, it wasn't
a sporting
stadium.
area.
A sporting event.
Sporting area. But you saw all the great names, on show. You had the Ken Irvine scoreboard. You had the Bob O'Reilly stand.
Is that what it was standing for? O'Reilly. It's just the Bob stand, isn't it?
Actually, they had the Bob stand and the O'Reilly stand, I think. And in hindsight, I think I'm wrong because I think Bob O'Reilly played for Souths. But either way, it was wonderful. A great footy excursion, great pubs, great bolo, just a great rugby league day all told. It was truly wonderful. And as you just would see here, got to meet one of my childhood heroes, Jason Taylor. Now, those that don't know Jason, he was a stalwart for the Bears in the mid to late 90s.
Before he got punched by David Farlogo.
By one of the players who he coached. Never seen him smile until he saw me at the bolo and he came up and he said, Liam, look, I know you probably get this all the time, he said, but I'd love to get a photo with you.
Of course.
And I said, who are you? But listeners might not know this. As you all do know, I grew up a Bearsman, but I used to tell people, Nagy, that my middle name was Taylor. I was that enthralled by Jason Taylor.
You lied to people.
I did. I lied to them all the time. I was even published in the newspaper as a 3-year-old with dad at the racetrack. It said Liam Taylor McNeil with his dad Greg, just out there to catch the fillies.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful day, and I got to share it with some fantastic, wonderful fellas.
It was a wonderful day out.
But I feel bad
except for the train ride home, which did not sit with me well at all.
Sat with me fine though, Nate.
Yeah,
Funny that.
It's the motion, Liam. It's the endless motion, and you're trapped. It's like a prison.
There's no doors. Well, there is, but they don't open unless the train is stopped.
Not between Hornsby and Woy Woy.
It's a long, long trip.
Far too. Liam, we have so much to cover in this tonight's show.
Yes.
But before we get to that, it's time for the news. I'll just fade away. Liam, the rugby league stories have sort of been infiltrated by another code.
Now, this is one that I've been very excited to talk about this news segment. So it begins as 3 separate stories, but we're going to kind of tie them all into place. Yeah. Now, the first one, and this is the most, I guess, fact-based one. This is not a very non-fact-based one.
Well, I was going to say it's not a very fact-based show.
No, and nor it should be. No. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I don't know if you younger jousters have heard of him. Former Sydney Roosters and Auckland Warriors player. Went to play for the Auckland Blues in the Super Rugby with aims to make the New Zealand All Black squad. Now...
Did he make it?
Oh, he did. Yeah. He did make it. He played a bit of inside centre, I believe, for the Blues and for the All Blacks, but... The All Blacks midfield depth is such that they didn't really have a spot for him.
Right.
They didn't really need him.
Okay.
Because the All Blacks don't really need anyone. They get who they have, and who they have is fantastic.
Yeah.
And anyone who's not from there doesn't really do any good there. So anyway, RTS will be coming back to the Warriors. I was hoping, I was praying, I was thinking, I was dreaming.
Yeah.
That maybe he'd come back this year and play with the resurgent Sean Johnson.
Yeah.
Because RTS outside Sean Johnson, when Sean Johnson smiles, is a recipe for brilliant, exciting football.
Sean Johnson playing on next year? He looks like a man that would be playing on next year.
I think if Roger Tuivasa-Sheck comes back, Sean Johnson will. He'll say, I want to play with this fella. I want to be in the same ground, the same dressing sheds as this man, because his footy suits my footy.
What about our favourite Dane, Mr. Charles-Nickel Klukstar?
Now that's been an interesting discussion. Dane Chance. Oh, Dane, as in a Danishman.
Danishman, yeah.
I thought you were
Is
saying...
that where that's where you mentioned he has a Danish-sounding name?
Klukstar, I do believe, is Danish for Smith.
Yeah.
And I thought you meant his name was Dane. I was about to correct you, but I'm glad that I didn't. Now, there's been talks about this. In the past, Nickel Klukstar has played in the centres.
Yes.
And I think to accommodate RTS's return, got to put him in the centres. There's no way you're playing Roger Tuivasa-Sheck not at fullback.
Yeah.
But anyway, a good win for rugby league when rugby league needs a win against rugby union.
It's been attacked.
And they're trying to bleed us dry.
Who are they coming after, Lee?
Oh, well, as we all know, and I think we discussed in the news last week, or the week before, or maybe we forgot it, they've already got Joseph Swali'i. Now, that's an interesting one. Rugby World Cup 2023 is happening, but he's not going there till 2025.
I see.
I think.
What?
So,
yeah. He's going there later on. Yeah.
Rugby Australia are not known for their shrewd decision-making abilities,
No.
but they've put a hit out. They want all of them. They want all the good rugby league players. They say
Cameron Murray, I heard.
They want Cameron Murray.
Yeah.
They traditionally would go for Angus Crichton because those two obviously have schoolboy rugby union backgrounds. I think both played inside centre at their respective schools in the GPS. There's talks of Payne Haas, and then the big fish, Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
Remember the last time Rugby Australia tried to lure a premiership-winning halfback to the Wallabies? It didn't work for them, and he was a boy from Newcastle, wasn't he, Nagy?
Oh, of course, the 05, the 2004 meeting that of course, he had with the Waratahs.
Yes, and of course, who was involved coaching the Wallabies at the time? But the man who is coaching the Wallabies currently, Eddie Jones. And I think this is where a lot of the talk, a lot of the conjecture, and a lot of the concrete facts around this are coming from. Because those who are not our younger listeners, I don't think we have many younger listeners, so I don't think we need to say that at all. You'll cast your mind back to 2001, Eddie Jones was in charge of the Wallabies, trying to win a World Cup in 2003, 20 years ago this year, in fact.
Wow.
And he decided he wanted to make a splash. He wanted to get some big wins for Rugby Australia. And so he signed three men you may have all heard of. Matt Rogers. He signed Lottie Takiri. He signed Wendell Saylor. Yeah. He also signed this may have been just before him, but the much under-heralded Andrew Walker. And so he plucked four big-name players, not like the players that rugby have poached recently, like Vunivalu and
Suliasi Vunivalu.
And Eto Nabuli. Not huge names,
No.
but they got those three big fish, and those three big fish all played in the World Cup final that year. In fact,
a bit spicy though.
It was very spicy. Yeah. And at the time, it was huge. It was controversial. It was, rugby's winning this one. And then Rugby Australia fell apart. So that's what happened.
I just find it so difficult to find where a game of rugby union is shown on a television screen.
Not any television screen you can get for free now.
No, Stan Sports, is it?
No one has that.
I remember the Shoot Shield on ABC. Now, there was something you could just, if you were...
You'd sink your teeth into a good game of the Shoot Shield.
You would sink into the couch because it'd be on a Sunday like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you just flick, I'll watch a bit of this. And you watch the entire game. It's riveting. Great rugby.
Well, some of the greatest television broadcasting decisions of all time were when they used to play the NHRU, Newcastle Hunter Rugby Union Grand Final. A day and a half later at 3 a.m. So you'd all get home. You've had silly Saturday. You've had silly Sunday. It's 3 a.m. You've been drinking for 48 hours. And you could watch the game over again, which was only good when you won. Because when you lost, you'd still watch it over again, but you'd have a little cry.
A solemn tear.
Yeah, but then, of course, you've got to discuss the differences between the games and where these players would fit in position-wise. You asked me in the car, Nagy, and I've got some thoughts.
Yeah, I said, where do they want Payne Haas to play? Obviously he's a mammoth of a front row forward in rugby league, but how does that translate to rugby union? Where does he fit in? Because we know, Liam, the technicalities within a forwards game, it's something that you really need to be playing for years and years and years if you want to be able to compete with the opposite 15 players ahead of you.
Yeah, rugby's so much more of a specialised game in terms of the positions they play. So looking at Payne, he's too big to play in the front row.
Yeah.
A front rower needs to be stouter and built like a barrel, very rotund. He's not got the height to play in the second row. Also, the technical skills in the scrum, it would take years to perfect that, even at a club level. He's not tall enough to play in the second row. I don't see him as being enough of a kind of jackling, ball-stealing threat in the traditional open-side flanker role. So I think where you'd put him would have to be at blindside flanker, who wears number 6 for those
Number
not
6,
familiar,
yeah.
or number 8, who funnily enough wears number 8. He's a powerful ball carrier. He's got some footwork, and the way he plays second phase, I think, could really lend him to that. But then, obviously can't play in the backs. He hasn't got any of the requisite skills to play in the backs.
We were scratching our heads, and I think you came up with one comparison where a rugby league forward actually successfully made it over to rugby union. And that's
That was Brad Thorne.
Bradley Thorne.
And we were discussing this because very, very seldom has a rugby league forward gone over to rugby union and succeeded in the forwards. I think Brad Thorne may be the only one. Yeah. And of course, we know Brad Thorne went back and then fourth. Back and then fourth
again.
Famously playing for both Queensland, Australia, and the All Blacks.
His head sort of looks like a Gilbert ball.
But a Gilbert ball made out of porous stone.
It's
craggy. But then, of course, you've got the Sonny Bill, which is a really unique example because obviously he was playing in the second row, although started in the centres. Yeah. But transitioned over to rugby union, playing first on the wing, where he was pretty good, and then sliding into inside centre, where he was very good. Now, they tried that with Sam Burgess as well. When they first signed Sam Burgess, Bath Rugby Club, who he played for at the time, wanted him... Yeah, Bath. They have the dumbest town names in England. They always have these teams and these tiny little... I won't say the word I was about to say. These tiny little...
Shithole
towns with dumb names. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to sign a player for $15 million to play in this town with 10 people in the population.
Chair and toilet and all of those names over there.
Outhouse.
They don't translate to the same English translations.
No, I went to that great town of Veranda one time. So they transitioned Burgess as a 6. Stuart Lancaster wanted him to play inside centre at the World Cup, failed miserably. So it's a tough one. And to see where these players who aim to transition would fit in is very hard.
Who is it? Is this an attack on rugby league?
Yes.
Just to try to take away the stars and say, like, you like these players, well, they're going to come play for our code. Is it come watch us, or is it a lack of talent in rugby union?
Look, I don't know, because I don't think anyone follows Australian rugby union anymore. So there could be talent. There could not be. The last Coach Dave Rennie recently, he was trying to rebuild the spirit of the Wallabies, the feeling that came from playing in the Wallabies gold. And I don't know if that worked, because most people really don't care about it anymore. So I think they're just trying to get more eyes on the screens. Also, Eddie Jones is notorious for trying to destroy rugby league. And now, in concert with that, Mr. Volandis is dead set trying to destroy rugby union. We're about to see a real dogfight of the Australian contact sports codes.
Is it going to be another rugby league war back of that 95, 96 sort of feeling? Super League?
We're starting to see the word war chest pop up a lot.
I hate that word.
Well, the only people who've used it since Genghis Khan in the 1200s has been the rugby league media and the rugby union media. No one's seen a war chest since the Mongol hordes, and all of a sudden there's 2 of them.
While we're on rugby union, Liam, someone was saying that they're going to wear a different coloured jersey for some games during the World Cup because for colourblind people, it can be difficult to differentiate between the two teams.
It is true.
And I have to say, if this is true...
It is true. It's actually been codified. It's been put into law.
Well done to whoever's lobbying on behalf of the colourblind community out there, because you've done an excellent job to actually get this to the top.
It's not something I think 9 out of 10 Australians would even think about, but someone in the halls of Parliament said this isn't good enough, we need to fix this. This is a problem that affects a portion of our society. We need to amend it.
Get that, whoever's in charge of that group, or the person or the woman or the man who's doing this and advocating on behalf of the colourblind community, get them onto other topics. They're doing a great job. They've already succeeded.
Give them a new portfolio.
They can't go any higher. Royal Commission.
Royal Commission into colourblindness. We can cure cancer, but we can't cure colourblindness. No. Where's the Royal Commission?
Where's the Royal
Albanese.
Commission?
Come on.
Liam, we played a game, rugby. Our beloved first grade Newcastle Knights went up against the Cowboys on Saturday night.
And did much the same thing as our beloved reserve grade Knights.
Oh, they played better than that, Liam. But it wasn't.
I don't know about that.
I've got to say, close game, 16 points to 18 points. One conversion between the 3 tries. There were 6 tries. We shared 3 of them each. We couldn't quite get it done, even though it was a very exciting second half. There was lots, obviously, to cover. But one thing, these close games, almost beating Penrith, almost beating the Cowboys,
almost beating Manly.
And we don't remember the almost at the end of the season.
Now, you mentioned that while we were eating our Hungry Jack's hangover meal today, and I think it was a good way of looking at it. You don't remember the almost games. I believe that's a Nagyism, isn't it?
Every day is a short story, as a wise man once said.
He's written more than Stephen King, apparently.
Yeah, more than 6 books. There's the games this week, the games this year, sorry, the Tigers, everyone's talking about the Tigers haven't managed to win any games. But they've almost won a bunch. Yeah. But you don't remember that a week later. You just say, they still suck.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter if you nearly get there. So we just need to get over the line.
Which is funny, because as Knights fans through the bad years, we hung on to the almost wins. In the Brownie days, we almost did it.
It was as good as a win.
It was as good as a win, but it's not anymore.
No, we
need to change the mindset.
We had a very good start of the season. I'm just worried it might be slipping through our fat little fingers.
But at no point, and this is again a strange feeling as a Knights fan. I had the most points through the game when we were down. I was like, we can wrestle this back.
Yeah.
We can get this.
It's when we're on top, we're like, oh, I don't think we can hold this.
But at the end of the game, previously, as Knights fans, we lose a game, we catastrophize. We say this is terrible, rip it all apart, tear the guts out of the whole city.
Yeah.
Change everything.
I
wouldn't do that this week.
No.
I got to the end of the game and I said, yeah, we lost. That's fair. But I trust Sam Elliott there on the screen.
Sam Elliott.
I trust the process.
Who isn't really a cowboy at all. He
No.
was born in Portland.
He's quite a bleeding heart liberal lefty.
Yeah, he is.
In fact.
He even narrated one of the ads for Joe Biden in the for the election. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You don't know this nag is a big trumper. No, trumpeter. He was in the high school band. He'd get your mind out of the gutters, Joust.
I really was a trumpeter. Oh, that's really true.
I had a stint on the saxophone.
Oh.
Yeah, it was good.
We love it.
Handy at it.
A couple of wind boys over
Yeah,
here. Or saxophones in the reeds.
It's reeds, but the reed is activated by the wind.
That's true. You can't have
have
saxophone
one
without the combination of wind and reed. Liam, then we welcome back one of our favourite sons to the rugby league pitch.
Yes.
In Kalen Pong. And now there was a bit.
You're welcome back. 2 of our favourites.
Oh,
Don't just single one out.
That's
That would
true.
you'll be a terrible father if you do that.
But the big story
Yes.
is Kalen Pong. Can he come back? Can he play first grade again? And there was a bit of a false start because an hour before the game it was announced he's actually moving back to the bench. The 14, Liam.
yes, now
This is what we were talking about. This is what they're going to do.
Jousters would remember last week. I was in the elevator with AOB and I said to him, Kalen's starting.
Yeah.
I said, Kalen's starting. And then I went to Kalen. I said, I spoke to AOB. You're starting.
You're starting.
What I forgot to tell you was that I had my fingers crossed behind my back.
Of course.
And so before kickoff, I said, AOB,
Yeah.
April Fool's, mate. I pranked you starting on the bench.
Yeah.
And he did.
You're already written on the team list.
Yeah.
It's too late to go back now.
Gotcha. Gotcha, AOB. And I got all you jousters too.
What did you think of the performance of Kalen Pong?
I liked it. It was very understated. It was a very muted performance. I think the temptation would have been to say, Kalen's back. Let's make him do everything.
Yeah.
Let's give him the ball all the time. Let's send him up in the first line of defense, seeking out
Everything. Chase that
everything
ball.
like an Exocet missile, trying to smash everything to bits.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
No.
He played a somewhat calmer game. And I liked it. I thought it was a good way to bring him back. And you'll notice as well, I don't know if you jousters noticed this, but they even had, they pulled the old Benji and they had him defending out on the left wing.
I did see that, and I thought it was a bit of a subdued start, but he warmed himself into the game. His stats at the end of the game quite strong. I believe 2 line break assists, a try assist,
Several tackle busts.
4 tackle busts,
tackle
and things like
busts.
that. He definitely got his hands on the ball enough. But I just what concerns me moving forward, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the game preview. It's just making sure that he finds his way back into that 6 comfortably and really takes ownership over that jersey and shows the town, the NRL, the whole rugby league community how important he is and what
But
he
I
can
think
do.
his somewhat understated performance, I've run out of synonyms for understated. I think was the fact that he could play a game like that and we don't lose by 100 points. Having Jackson Hastings there, who likes getting his hand on the ball a lot, loves getting his hand on the ball a whole lot.
Yeah.
Kalen.
He could be very well be a
something. I don't
6. That's more like a Dylan Brown. Now, Dylan Brown.
A mercurial 6.
Well, he just touches the ball about 3 times a game, it appears.
But does it well.
Mitchell Moses does everything else in that team. And then now we've got, and then as soon as he puts in a grubber, they score a try, they say, gee, isn't Dylan Brown great?
And I think that's a perfect analogy. That's where Kalen could become
Because
Dylan Brown.
Moses and it could be Kalen Brown. It's a good, strong name. They don't have strong names anymore.
No, there's like Bruce and
Lance
Lance.
and Ross.
Ross.
What happened to them? It's all you know.
They all
light-
died in like smelting incidents at the mines.
They were all
Because
asbestos
you can't send the
affected.
children down the mines
No,
anymore.
we've
We send all our Lances and Bruces and Rosses down the mines.
They never made it past
They
12.
never made it. But there was another return, Nagy.
Yes.
And it was arguably a bigger return, physically, not so much in terms of his profile, but a physically bigger man return, Nagy, and it was Jacob Safidi.
And I thought he was our best forward.
I think there may be some headwear involved in the conversation we're about to have with Jacob Safidi. What headwear is that?
Absolutely. Well, then we may as well jump straight into our hats off and hats back on again.
Yes.
And I may as well start with our very man. We're talking about Jacob Saifidi. Gets my hats off this week. I thought he did an excellent job, considering where we were and what we needed from him. Didn't he just come out there and blow the thing? He was bending the line. He was putting hits on. And in some of those hits, I'm like, you just came back from suspension.
Maybe slow it down a
Cool
bit.
your jets.
He
But at the
had
same
one-
time, I'm like, fire the jets again.
Perhaps he did have quite the opposite return of Kalen Ponga. Because, you know, in that same elevator ride with AAB, I said, tell Jacob to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
Tell him to
Keep
come
it
back,
down.
you know, keep it down, not get too loud.
But he didn't do it.
Fingers crossed.
April
April
Fools.
Fools. Got him again.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic. And it's funny. Something's going to come up later that the identical person had. But my hats
Yeah.
off Nagy was Dane Gagai. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's getting on.
Yeah.
He's getting on in years. And he was up against another fellow Maroons player in Val Holmes.
Excellent battle.
I love a good centre battle. Yeah. There's a game in 2018. It was the Roosters and the Broncos.
Yeah.
And it was James Roberts versus
The Jet.
Latrell Mitchell. And Jousters, seek that game out. It was one of the best centre battles at all. Of course, you've also got the famous 2011 decider with Steve Matai and Christian Inu.
I believe that was the grand final.
Yes.
Yeah.
The decider, didn't I say?
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh.
Yeah, no, it's the decider. I
Thought I
wasn't
lost
sure
my words.
I wasn't sure if that was used as a term for the grand final.
Oh, well, it
decider.
should be if it isn't,
I
yeah.
think
But you
it-
think back to those great centre battles and what we saw from Dane Gagai and Valentine Holmes, it was something else.
Yeah.
I think Val maybe got the ascendancy towards the end. He was tremendous. But, you know, if you look at Gagai's stats, 100 and something plus meters, maybe 130 plus.
Might have cracked 200. I don't know.
13 tackle busts,
many
couple
of
of line breaks.
He was
He's
excellent,
very
and
good.
he has really been excellent for us this entire season. I think a lot of people looked at the form that he was playing with last season and thought he's another year older.
Over a hill, they thought he was.
No, well, and then but he seemed
They
to
were
be proving
turning
us all
a
wrong.
hill into a very small mountain.
And it's going to be interesting to see how he does for the rest of the season. I'm hoping that he keeps his form, and as well as Jacob Saifidi. But who's your hats back on, Liam?
Look, my hat's back on. Now, we've been enjoying doing conceptual hats back ons this year. Very, very conceptual thought experiments.
Yeah.
My hat's back on this week is going to the Newcastle Knights completion rate.
Yeah.
66%, 60-something% last week as well. I just want to take that completion rate by its scruffy collar and shake it around. Say, be a bigger number, mate.
Both of them, both
You're not-
sixes.
You're not a big number enough.
Listen, you
Not
and
like
you.
your dad, 88. Come on. You could grow up to be a 93, but no, you're sub
A
70.
93 just like your grandfather. But no.
Your uncle, 82, would be turning in his grave if he saw you. So that's my hats on for the week. Again, my
74, get out of here. That's the mother. Get out of here. Don't look at me disciplining the son. 66.
No, you don't get to visit 32 on the weekend. It's not visitation week for him. You have a real hats back on, don't you?
My hat's back on actually goes to a player for the first time this season. And that is the identical twin of Jacob Saifidi, and that is
8.
Daniel Saifidi. 8. That's the number he wears. Daniel Saifidi. Just didn't come out with the kind of front row expectation that I have for him. As a player moving towards Origin selection, he says he wants to play Origin again. I don't know if he's carrying an injury, but if he is, tell us about the injury that he's carrying, or at least let us know, because at the moment I have to assume he's fit and he's not playing like
Well,
it.
there was a few points in the game where I saw him in the tackle, getting put on the ground, and there was a certain wince in his eyes. So I wonder. I think you might be onto something with perhaps carrying a wee injury.
I think that it's just the amount of intensity that he's going to the line, and the speed of the play of the ball has been below par. And if he wants to be the representative player that we all know he can be, he could be a bit more like his brother.
And to be fair, if he had been carrying an injury into this game, or if he'd been carrying an injury in the previous games, You just swap the jerseys and say, oh, yeah, Jacob Safidi's still out suspended.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Not even DNA can
Switch
tell them
in.
apart.
It certainly can't.
We've all seen the movie Dredd. That's how he got done.
Oh, actually, I haven't seen Dredd. I think I'd really enjoy it.
Judge Dredd, the original one with Sylvester Stallone.
Why do people keep giving Carl Urban acting roles that he needs to do an accent for? He's so bad at it.
Yeah, but that's him. That's him.
Like in The Boys, his English accent is horrific.
But I like it. I don't know.
It works.
It's a wonderful show.
It's a great show.
He was
I
in-
love that show because every second of that show, I don't know what's going to happen in the next second. Like what it's like watching the Knights.
Yeah, I think it's like it is being with me, and I'm saying
Also that,
I'm
yes.
very boring.
Like 1 minute they're having an opening sex scene, and the next minute the man's penis is exploding because
Yeah.
the tiny man went in it. And
Yeah.
it's an amazing show.
That's
really.
we're talking to the boys, not about rugby league, of course.
No, no. It was the train trip on the way home from North Sydney Oval yesterday. It was exploding penises and everything. It was
We're going to have a halftime break, Joust, and we'll be back to talk everything of the upcoming game against the Eels, as well as looking at a few other things, but definitely not Liam's sack. Your pie of the week, Liam.
pie of the week and try of the week. Now, this pie of the week ties into us waxing lyrical about. Oh no, we're covering it. After the break. We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now, Liam,
Yes, Nagy.
what would you be doing on the 5th of May? There's no football on that week because the Knights have the bye for Magic Round, so how are you going to fill your time?
Well, I'm going to fill my time by filling my ears with some beautiful, beautiful conglomeration of music and rugby league.
Yeah. And where would you find that conglomeration, Liam?
That's going to conglomerate right at the Hamilton Station Hotel in the brand new band room out the back. We got a tour the other week, as we mentioned, from Public and Tristan.
Yeah.
A hell of a facility. It's a fantastic facility, but who is going to be filling our ears with this wonderful, wonderful sporting music?
One band, you say, Liam? Not enough.
No.
Not enough. Two bands, too much, but we're jamming three bands in there, Liam.
What? The audacity. I've never been to a music band show before, but 3 seems like a lot.
3 entire bands that we have. Love a Lamp, a couple of boys from the Newcastle area, I believe. Very exciting to have Love a Lamp there. But of course, our very good friends over at Narmate are launching their album. That's enormous what you've just done.
Some of Rab's finest work and some of the Narmate boys' finest work. I tend to find that, the boys draw a lot of inspiration from Ray Warren, and so I'm very excited to hear this.
Or for rugby league in
rugby
rugby league entirely.
Absolutely, you can't have one without the other.
And of course, you can't forget the main guy and the other guys will
now-
also be performing.
Newcastle's favourite Austro-Norwegian person, Australian-Norwegian rather, sorry, I'm sure he's not got any Austrian in him. But the Duke, of course, former guest of the show.
Yeah.
The main guy.
Joust alumni.
Not the other guys.
Not the other guy.
Because he's the main guy.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to see that. Get there on the 5th of May. That's the day after the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Everyone says it out loud again and again and again. That should be your alert to say that there's only one more day before you get to see 3 bands at the Hamilton Station.
Doors at 8, I believe is correct.
$10?
$10
For 3 bands.
It would be a bargain at thrice the price.
Is what intro music is. That's right. Also, this is our intro music. The band, the Narmate, the very band that plays our intro music.
We don't hear the intro 'cause
Live.
it's in the boys. They call it the cans for those in the industry, the headphones.
The cans.
The cans.
It's in the cans.
It's in the cans.
Every time you flick on that with a beautiful harmonica and the sound of that is Narmate. So you've already got a bit of a taste, a preview of their very first album.
And this time you get to hear it at the pub.
The pub.
With a couple of schooners.
It's going to be excellent. You can buy tickets on the
A couple
door
of Denzel Frothingtons.
for $10, or you can buy them from OzTix for $10 plus some sort of surcharge, I believe. So you can just buy them at the door, but they will sell out. This will be a sold-out event, but please make sure you get down there anyway, just in case I buy all the tickets. So I want to have a private showing. It's going to be a great night. May the 5th, get down there. 8 o'clock is at the door. Now, Liam, you've been doing fantastic things with pastry.
Yeah, well, I've been enjoying the fruits of other people doing fantastic things with pastry.
Mashing the pastry between your teeth and swallowing it down
Just
your hole.
noshing it. Yeah. Just noshing on it. That's the way that I do it. I know other people like to eat pies in different manners. You know, they smush it in their hands, then drown it down their throats, crush it between their knees.
Yeah.
I like to chew it with my teeth.
Well, except there was a young Gavin Morton, one of Newcastle's local sex sirens.
Yes.
He couldn't get the pie to his face without it collapsing. But that's not your pie of the week. That was his pie.
That
of
was
the
his
week.
pie of the week. And mine was quite different. Now, the theme of this week's pie and try is the thing is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And to start with the pie, Now, as we mentioned, we had a wonderful day watching rugby league, sitting on the hill, drinking beer and eating a pie.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't a great pie. The crust was overdone. The filling was lukewarm and underfilled. But in the context of the day, in the context of the experience we were having and the great time that we were going through, it was brilliant. It was exactly what I was looking for. It was just what I needed. It was good for the soul.
Yeah.
What's that book? Chicken Soup for the Soul? Terrible book. It should be Meat Pies for the Soul. And to this week's Try of the Week is similar. You know, it was a pretty good run from Tyson Frizzell. It was a pretty good run.
Pretty good run, yeah.
It was a bit of an okay, bounce across the field from Jackson Hastings.
Yeah, looked like nothing was on.
It looked like nothing was on, and it was a decent line from Lockie Fitzgibbon. But all those three, not bad.
Yeah.
Things combined to make a very good try.
Very good.
So this week's pie and try were a bit conceptual, something a bit different. And two things I enjoyed greatly. Really had a good time doing them.
It was marvellous to be with you also enjoying that pie, Liam. You really do love the meat-filled pastries of this world.
The best.
There's a game coming up this week, and of course we move back to the graveyard shift, Liam, with the 6 p.m. on Friday.
Now, the Knights fans, for all their amazing, loyalty, dedication, kind of shot ourselves in the foot because the NRL said, you know what, we'll give the Knights an a 6 p.m. Friday game.
Yeah.
No one goes to them,
Yeah.
so it won't matter. They used to get 16,000 plus, so the NRL said, all these Knights, everyone lives in Broadmeadow, they can get to the game in 10 minutes after they finish work, so they kept giving it to us.
They've even given it to us in an away game at country. What are they calling it now? Combank Stadium.
Combank Stadium.
Wasn't it West Bank Stadium at one stage? Did
Or
they
maybe
change
now it's
banks?
West Bank. Yeah,
Bank West Stadium.
Penrith
Combank.
Parramatta's kind of in the country.
They change names of stadiums most years.
Sponsorship names, naming rights of stadiums is killing rugby league.
Yeah.
It should be called Parramatta Oval,
Yeah.
Marathon Stadium,
Yeah.
Penrith Stadium. Just name them where they are. Shark Park, that's a great one.
Of course, Marathon Stadium being right in the heart of Marathon.
Yes, that's very, very, very well regarded Newcastle suburb. Highest property prices in the world.
Yeah. Well, much higher if you go to Marathon Heights.
Yeah, of course. There's only one occupant. The P.O. Box 1, Marathon, goes straight to AOB's desk.
So we moved back there to face the Eels. The Eels have had an up and down season. Mostly down, yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great season for them. To be fair, they faced some of the best teams in the world in the first few weeks. And by an odd idiosyncrasy of the draw, all those good teams were coming off the bye. So they were playing well-rested, very skillful teams. And now they're playing a team that's not well-rested and not overly skillful, Nagy.
Well, they've broken the mold because now they're playing us, which leads into the bye. But if we're looking at how
Seems silly to break the mold.
if we're looking at
The reason you have a mold is to
to
use it
hold
multiple
it,
times.
yeah.
You need to use it over and over again.
it's like smashing a vase, it's useless now.
Maybe instead of breaking the mold, just say, I'm not going to use the mold this one time and do something different. And then keep the mold for something later on.
Breaking the mold is that when you're trying to find out where those expressions come from? Breaking the mold.
Pottery.
I thought it was a pottery
I
thing
think it's
too.
a pottery thing, yeah.
But if you break it, then anyway. It's like that flash in the pan. You know that expression is a flash in the pan.
You shouldn't have flashes in your pan. If
Well,
you're cooking correctly, use the right amount
It's
of oil.
not cooking, Liam. I
it's not
discovered it's not
cooking
cooking
at
at all. It's from the English Civil War with the guns they were using because they put the gunpowder in the pan and then they lodged the bullet down the hole.
Right.
And then the gunpowder will go off and will force the bullet out. Or
And
the,
then they
the
cook
ball.
dinner in their cast iron pan.
But then if they pull the trigger sometimes, there would be a flash in the pan,
Right.
but it wouldn't excel the bullet out of the gun.
See, Jousters, this is what I love about life. I learn something new every day on this earth, and I love that about life. It's an amazing thing, Jousters. Open your mind and receive knowledge every day. But never trust us with the knowledge. Take everything we say with a large, large grain of salt. For various reasons, many of which Cessnock City Council have gagged us on.
We
All
can't.
the lies we've told to people through the years.
We're not too sure on the lineup, Slim, because of when we're recording. However, we definitely know that our Regan Campbell-Gillard for the Parramatta Eels will not be playing.
Which is a big, big out, because over the last few years, Regan Campbell-Gillard and Junior Bowler have been such a huge part of the Parramatta engine room.
Yeah.
They were the ones down in the engine room,
The 1-2 punch.
digging the coal, putting it in the boiler, drowning first because that's the way society worked. They didn't value the work of the boilermen in the Titanic.
No, they locked the
Said,
doors.
No, yeah, we don't need to harm.
Don't need an engine anymore. We're going down.
Gravity's the newest engine on the Titanic. Anyway, those boys are in the boiler room, and that's probably not safe for their well-being, so it's good for Regan that he's out injured.
He did it. Well, it's good for us he's out injured as well.
Also
Because
us.
he's been playing quite well, but he did.
You don't hear about the people who benefited from the sinking of the Titanic.
He did an old.
That's the story they won't tell you.
Well, I want to see that film, Titanic 2, the people who celebrated.
Remember Clive Palmer tried to launch Titanic 2?
I'm sure he's still trying.
It was one of his big things. He's like, oh, we're going to launch the second Titanic. He's like, well,
Why? It's a terrible ship. It's a failure.
The movie came out 15, 20 years ago. No one gives a shit about it anymore.
So he wanted to build it like a like for like.
I believe it was a like-for-like replica. But with thanks to global warming, there's no more icebergs, so it would have been fine.
It would have been clear sailing from here.
Yeah, clear sailing from here. Plus, Hunter, more coal than anywhere on Earth, so you could sail it out of the Hunter. We'd kind of give him the coal probably for free.
Yeah, yeah.
But I demand adequate protection
to
for
say
those men in the boiler room. Because we're living in a classless society now.
Give them ladders. Tell them to get up.
Give them a bigger shovel. They always had such tiny shovels. Or just automate the whole thing.
Just take the men out of the engine
And
room.
put them out of jobs like a commie. Where were we, Nagy?
I forgot. Oh, that's right. Regan McGill did an old man injury by breaking his hip, or a lot of people thought he broke his hip during that game. Now, he didn't break it himself. Someone helped him break it. I think it was Payne Haas. But then it was said that he looks like he's fractured his hip. First time I've ever heard that injury in rugby league.
Oh, what about Chris Lawrence? Remember, he was the fastest player in the NRL, and then he fractured his hip, and he came back a shell of his former self.
Came back, it was the second row. What was that? He broke his face. Broke his face as well, yeah.
Oh, he did two breaks.
Two breaks.
One of his face and one of his hip. Which is a terrible one. I had a fella I played rugby with growing up, Brownie. He was a great fella. Played halfback. He was
dead? You're sort of speaking to as if he's passed away.
No, but he did shatter his the growth plate on his hip playing at Marcel and Oval.
She ain't growing no more.
No, the poor guy. He was in a wheelchair for 2 years.
Christ.
So that's what happens when you damage a hip. It's not a good thing.
Oh, he did break
Yeah,
his
poor
face.
Brownie.
Look at
He's
this.
a great footy player too. He's a really good little halfback. So.
That's not Brownie, of course. That is Chris Lawrence.
Yeah, it's Chris Lawrence with his face break.
No,
when you break your hip, you break your face.
He ain't so pretty no more, is he?
Ain't so pretty no more.
No, look, it's if we look at the Newcastle Knights team, I think there's a bit of a question on how they're going to front up, because we haven't seen the team list for this year. We can assume that there's no injuries, no catastrophic injuries, but of course we've got Lockie Miller at the back there. Dom Young on the wings, the centre pairing of Dane Gagai, Bradman Best, the thumb, Greg Majeur.
Signing of the year, Greg Majeur.
Excellent first 20
I think
minutes
it needs to be said.
against the Cowboys. Hopefully he can back that up for a full 80 performance. But this is where it will get a bit interesting, whether they put...
Contentious decisions need to be made here, Nagy, and we're happy to make contentious decisions.
Or at least speculate on them.
Speculation, wild speculation and hyperbole.
Because
what we do well.
It's basically the whole show. There's Kalen Ponga looks like he'll be coming back to be starting at 6. I don't think they'll try any more of this off the bench now that he's put some football minutes collectively in his rearview mirror. But then of course Jackson Hastings at 7. Where do you put? Do you keep Tyson responsibly on the bench as a 14? If you do, when do you bring him on?
I'm of the thought that maybe Kalen should get another week off the bench. I say give him another week off the bench, and there's a reason for this.
There better be a good one.
And it comes from my days riding the pine in my various footy iterations that I've been through. There's something humbling about starting from the bench.
Yeah.
You give cause to sit back and reflect on the game and reflect on your place in the game. If you're sent straight into the starting side, you say, oh, I can do what I want.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the starting 13. I
have 80 full
I can do
minutes.
as I please. I've got 80 full minutes.
Yeah.
But you get given the number 14, number 15, 16. God forbid you get given the number 17.
Yeah.
You sit on the bench and you think about what you've done. And you think about what you're going to do. It gives time. It gives you pause for reflection.
I always thought,
and I think that'd be good for Kayla.
I feel like there's a slight hierarchy with the bench numbers. I always think 14 is the better one. 17 also has a bit of prowess about it. 15, 16, no one wants
Well,
to bench.
15, 16, that's just like, let's just grab two fat blokes.
Two
Like,
fat
you
blokes?
could grab anyone out of the pub.
Yeah.
Put him in the
15,
number 15.
16.
In an NRL roster.
We might use you.
Yeah,
We
people
might not.
Just look at it and go, oh, yeah. Yeah, he fits.
Could be straight on. It could be early showers.
Yeah, could be.
Who knows?
Either or.
Now-
Red Mist, for example, I believe he got 6 minutes game time last week. In
No,
the
he's
number...
playing a little bit more, but I want to be seeing a little bit more of him.
Yes.
I want to see him hit someone outside the laws of the game. That's
Yes.
what I really want to see.
We have argued recently at the Joust for rugby league thuggery.
Have a go at Matt Croker's little moustache. It's just a whisper of a moustache. It's a mere suggestion of a moustache. Yeah, sorry. To
One
interrupt you there.
time, many years ago, Nagy, when my facial hair wasn't going great, we had Movember at work, and I had a little wispy blonde boy going on, and I borrowed my sister's eyelash stuff. What do they put it? Mascara. And I applied mascara for the night of Movember, and it was a really hot night too, and I got really sweaty, so I just had mascara dripping down my face.
Like
All shift, I looked like a
Rudy
moron.
Giuliani. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, like a moron.
Like a moron.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Wasn't
interesting.
it a fall from grace for Rudy Giuliani? You know, he was the
Yeah,
mayor
well.
who got New York through 9/11.
Yeah.
And then he was the politician who got felt up by a young woman on that Borat movie.
Yeah. That's the two peaks in
The dualities
the-
of man. Duality, two sides of the same coin, really.
If we're looking at the team, I'll put a question to you, Liam. How we
Ooh.
can fit everything in.
I love when you do that.
If they don't start Phoenix Crossland
Mm-hmm.
at 9, but they move Kurt Mann to 9.
Do we
To start it for the first 20, and then you bring the prop off, and you bring Phoenix
Mm.
on as 9, and then you move Mr. Hurtman to lock as a running forward. It's the classic Brownie interchange.
also
thing with
very
Dean Young and Michael Leonard.
successful when the Penny Panthers did it? Remember they'd start with Mitch Kenny, tackling machine,
Yeah.
tough little boy.
Yeah.
And then we bring on, obviously, Appy Coruscant.
Yeah.
Who, interesting stat, in his opening 7 games for the Tigers, he has as many losses as he did in the entire 2020, 2021, and 2022 seasons with the Penrith Panthers. Tigers in turmoil. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
They're almost winning, Liam. They're almost winning.
They're almost winning. But I love that idea. You mentioned it to me in the car on the way, and I think it's a
Yeah.
great idea. Get Kurt in, tackle, throw his shoulders around a bit,
Yeah.
throw his elbows around a bit, get some good service, but that's that. And then let Phoenix come in, because as you know, you Knights fans, again, it disgusts me that you all used to say there is 750,000 NRL players worse than Phoenix Crossland. Because that is demonstrably false.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't start this week, but it could be for the best for him. He comes on 20 minutes, good quick service, got a real zippy pass from the ground. I like it.
Is that who I must understand? Yes, I understand. it.
I understand.
Thanks for calling. There's a. I don't know how we're going to come up against the Eels, Liam. I really hope that we're going to show a really strong effort down there, and for the backs mainly to putting forward that same sort of intensity and beating those one-on-one tackles. I think it would be the perfect time for Kalen Ponga to come back in and really show that he owns that number 6 jersey.
Now, we did forget to mention the rest of the team. Does Jacob Safidi come back into the starting prop with his brother Daniel?
No,
Or do you keep Leo Thompson?
No, keep
Leo's
Leo
been
Thompson.
good.
I like the combination, but I
You
want to see
switch
more out
the
of Daniel.
Safidis.
No, keep Daniel. I like the off the bench.
Good. Keep Fitz and Frizz.
Fitz and
For all
Frizz are
your
doing
cheap
fine.
tailoring and haircut needs, they were great. They've been great the last couple of weeks.
It'll just be interesting to see if you can fit Tyson responsibly in there with Phoenix Crossland, in there with Hurtman, in there with Kalen Ponga. I don't know how that's going to look, but we'll find out tomorrow night.
Love Matt Croker as well. He's coming along really nicely as a bench front rower, coming along really
Except
nicely.
for that moustache.
Yeah. Again, just put a bit of mascara in it, that. Works a treat.
And stay in the air conditioning. Liam, we can't open your sack tonight because there is none.
Yes, now, just as I made an executive decision when I started drinking yesterday at 9 in the morning that I would accidentally forget to put the sack up, so deal with it. That's cool.
But it's ready for you next week. It'll be right there.
It will be. If early, if anything.
Yeah, we can put it up now.
Oh, yeah.
But before we go, Liam, it's important to discuss not only the men's team, but the women's team.
Now, this great news came across our desk recently. Obviously, we had to sign off on the contracts before they were handed to these wonderful Newcastle Knights.
They come past the desk, yeah.
The Southwells are back. Now, do you remember the last time we had great success with the Knights? It was full of brothers.
Yeah.
It was the Gidley brothers. It was the Johns brothers.
Yeah.
It was... I always thought
The
Steve Simpson and Matt Parsons kind of look like cousins.
It's the hairline. It's the widow's peak.
It was the widow's peak. But Newcastle Rugby League has been built on siblings.
Yeah.
And to see the Southwells re-sign for the NRLW team, I think is wonderful, especially with the loss of Mr. Elliott. Sorry, Mrs. Elliott.
Mrs. Elliott.
Mrs. Millie Elliott.
Yeah, well, it's Mr. Boyle.
Well, I think we've changed now.
Has he? They've completely forgotten that he was in town.
He's still around.
He's got a groin problem.
Well, he's probably had to pick up a couple of shifts at Cappadocia because he's not getting his match payments.
He's not getting any time in the field. I hope to see him back soon, but I don't know where you'd fit him in anyway.
But anyway, the Southwells, of course, shown there wearing a hat that says Wang. I don't know which Southwell that is. But yeah, no, excellent re-signings for the club. And just what the NRLW team needs. Someone with a hat that says Wang on it.
Who was that? Can we just there was a reference there
The
from
boffins in the back. Who was that?
That was Missy Elliott.
Oh, Missy Elliott.
Elliott.
Sorry, yeah.
That was
We were
Missy
thinking Miss
Elliott,
Elliott, and we
Mr.
got Missy Elliott instead of Miss Elliott.
Of course. It's a very provocative hat.
I like it.
Now, Liam, there's also we
I'm
had
getting a big shirt with just penis. written on it.
penis. It's got to be at the Joust merch. You can check that out online.
It costs $4,000 a piece.
I feel like
It'll be a
we've-
bargain at twice the price.
It's great to see the women's night side actually, re-signing these premiership-winning players.
Well, that's it. You know, you
Tamika Upton, of course, for 5 years.
because
Tamika-
back to back is not an easy thing to do.
No.
And so to have, and you mentioned there Tamika Upton, another great member of
Yasmin
the core of this
Clydesdale
team.
as well.
Yeah,
Yasmin Clydesdale.
I think
yeah.
there's big things in the future of the NRLW Knights.
Yeah, I
well,
think
there's
so.
already big things in the past because they won actually.
Yeah, I think we're in the midst of big things.
Yes.
We'll continue to roll on.
Which would be really nice because we haven't had nice things in a while.
No. Not since then. They won. And,
Yeah,
and the men.
Again, before that, though.
Before that,
Yeah.
nothing for
No.
long periods. And then the women, and then nothing really for the men again this season. But hopefully, we can turn that all around against the Eels into the bye. It would be basically a 4-point win if we can beat the Eels.
Just as you've seen the complete decay of two men's brains after imbibing too much a day and a half ago.
Spend far too much time together.
We've got wet cakes in our head and they're falling apart.
We must retire back to our separate abodes. We don't sleep in the same room. We're not Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie were based on us.
They
We were the
They
originators.
Yeah.
Justice, you're just all wonderful. Thank you for bearing with us.
Thank you for being with us, Justice. If you could like us, please like us on Facebook, SoundCloud. Yeah, everyone tunes out by this point anyway. And if you're still tuning in, you probably already liked us on those social pipes. But thank you for joining us. You can catch us again next week. We'll be reviewing all the Eels games and all the fun things in the NRL. And of course, don't forget to check out, not this week, next week, May the 5th, be with you. As you remember to go
Cinco de Mayo, if you will.
Yeah. Is that how you say anything in what? May
No,
the-
Cinco de Mayo is a very important Latin American celebration, May 5th. It's a very big day.
That's May 5th.
Yeah, it's May 5th. Cinco de Mayo.
Can you boys work that into the show? Work that into the Narmade album launch / Cinco de Mayo / Love a Lamb / the main guy and the other guys will all be there. And we'll be there too. Come check it out. Thank you for joining us, Justice. We'll see you again next week.